Hi everyone, welcome to the video. Welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be going over the basics of Onshape, just navigating it. So this is part 1 out of 2. So in this video, I'm just briefly going to touch over the different parts of the Onshape workspace. It's not going to go much in detail, but in the next video, I'm going to try to elaborate as much as I can. So let's get started. This tab that I'm on is my Onshape screen. This can be compared to a dashboard of some sort. So this is where I'll see when we start creating projects all your projects are going to show up in this area. You're going to see the name of the project, who it was modified by, or who it was last modified by. And who's the owner of the document. Now this owned by, you'll see where it comes into play when we come to share with me. But for now, that's all pretty much we need to know. Then recently opened, this will show all the documents that you've recently opened, like within the 2-week time frame. So then created by me will show you all the documents that you have created. That's essentially the definition of owned by. Whoever creates the document is the person who is the owner of the document. So then comes shared with me. These are all the documents that someone else has shared with you. So you can share documents or folders. Documents are basically workspaces that we're going to create. And folders are basically storages for documents. And then the public tab, it's just a place where everyone or from all over the world will create projects and you can see them. Now, not all projects will be public. It will show up in the public tab if you choose to make it public. Otherwise, it will just stay here. I always encourage everyone to look at the public so you'll get a brief idea of if you want to make something. Looking at the public section will always give you inspiration, or at least that's what I like to think. Then finally is your trash folder. Your trash folder is basically if you delete documents, they'll come here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to return to my Onshape screen. I can do this in 2 ways. One, I can come to this tab over here and click on my Onshape, or I could click on the logo, which will appear in whether I'm in each tab or if I'm in a document or not. This button will always be there. Okay, so let's create our first document, right? So how I'm going to create it is I'm going to come to this blue button over here. I'm going to click on it. And here it's going to give you a couple of options. First, what I want to do is I actually want to create a document because I want to create my workspace. So I'm going to click on document, and for document name, that's essentially what I want to name my document. So I want to name it, for the purpose of this video, exploration. You can change the name of your document in one of 2 ways. You can actually come here, come to the document name and click, and you can change it from there. Or you can return to the Onshape home screen again by clicking on the logo. How you can do this is you can hover over it and it'll say go to documents, and that's how you know you're clicking on the right thing. And then as you can see here on the My Onshape screen, it'll show you the documents that you've created. So again, I wanted to rename it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the bottom, right click, and the third option to the bottom from the top would be rename document, and I can rename it there. But for now, I want to just keep it here. So what we can do now is let's just go over how to change certain aspects of a document, right? So in this, I always like to work with millimeters because it's just so much easier. It's like a common system that a lot of people know how to use, and it's much more precise. So how you can change your document units. So your document units is essentially just what are your basic units that you work with. So you can come to the hamburger over here. That's what I like to call it. If you hover over it, it'll be called the document menu. But essentially, it's just 3 lines with the function of the document. You can also rename your document by clicking on the document menu, or you can move it to different folders. I'll show you how to do that later on. Then document properties. This will basically show you a document description. When you create projects, if you briefly want to let someone know what your project is about, you would create a document description or a document properties. Then what we can do is we can copy a workspace. So say if you have your friend workspace and you want to essentially create a similar thing, you can just copy the workspace. And if you want to change your workspace unit, you can come to this piece or this button, and it'll show you these things called the workspace units. If you've created your Onshape account before, the third screen, I believe, would be customization, and this is essentially all the items that you'll see there. So for the default length unit, I always suggest that you come to this tab and select millimeter. And the reason why I give you this option is because it'll change the units for specifically this document. It won't apply for the entire all documents you create on Onshape. So the length display decimals, this essentially shows how precise you want your decimals places to be. So say there's a decimal 0.12345678910. I mean, 9. If you only wanted to display 3 digits, you can click that. If you wanted to be more precise, you can choose 5 digits, but I always prefer 3. Then your default angle unit, that's either radian or degree. I'd like to go with radian. And angle display decimal, so basically if you have an angle, say it's 90.0967874, whatever. If you choose up to 3 points, it'll show you 90.068, I believe. And then your default mass unit, what do you want your mass unit to be? You can choose from gram, kilogram, ounce, and pound. I like to go with pound. And finally, mass display decimals is essentially the same thing as the first two itself. Then if you want to save changes, this is really important, and it's through all of Onshape. You have to click the green check button. Otherwise, none of your changes are going to save. If you want to cancel your changes, you can click this X button, but I want to save mine, so I'll click the green check button. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go over the feature tab. So this feature tab essentially shows you all the objects you could possibly do to create a part. So the basis of any part will always be a sketch. And to make the sketch into a 3D model, these features will be applied to make it a 3D model, right? So that's essentially all there is. And then comes the features tab. It shows you all your features. So basically, say if I create a sketch, that's a feature. So it'll show as sketch 1 unless you choose to rename it. And if you create another sketch after that, it's going to be sketch 2, so on and so forth. If you did extrusion, if you choose an extrusion tool, if you extrude it, then it's going to show up here. Then if you decide to do a revolve, it'll show up here. All of these are considered features, and any feature that you do will show up in the features tab. And then it'll show you your parts. Here in this tab is usually where you're going to customize your part. In other words, add materials, change the colors, so on and so forth. The final, and in my opinion, one of the most important pieces of the document is this bottom bar over here. Right, so this is called your element bar. So what you're going to do is there are actually 3 types of elements. One is a part studio, another is an assembly, and a third is a drawing. A part studio is where you're going to create a part. It's self-explanatory. It's like the essential creation basic of a part. Then your assembly is where you put together multiple parts, where you combine that to make your total entirety of your project. And then finally comes your drawing. This is where you can insert multiple views of your part. It's really important to show different angles so that other engineers can understand the construction of your part and they can see the dimensions without actually have to going into the part and tinkering with the sketches and so on. So it's a more efficient way of seeing the design of the part in simplest terms. Okay, so what we can do is for the last part of this video, I'm just going to show you how to briefly rename different parts in this document, in the element bar actually. You can create a new element by clicking on this plus sign over here and choosing a part studio, assembly, drawing, so on and so forth. Your basic unit or the basic label it'll give you when you create a part studio will always be part studio 1, depending on the number of part studios you created. If I created another part studio, for example, it'll be part studio 2. See, part studio 2. But let's just say maybe I didn't want to create the part studio. I could right click and click on delete. That's the first option up here. And it's deleted. Then if you want to rename your part studio so it doesn't get too confusing, you can right click and click on the third option from the top. That's rename. And I can just rename mine pencil because that's what I'll be showing you guys how to create in the next video. So pencil. And say I wanted to create different parts of the pencil. I could type pencil underscore. Underscore is going to be a very important piece. It's like a naming convention. So underscore body, right? So there you go. And if I click, the changes will save. So the really cool thing about Onshape is that it's a cloud platform, which means that regardless of whether you're on a desktop, you're on your phone, which is not recommended, but or on another laptop, iPad, so on and so forth, you will be able to access Onshape anywhere as long as you have internet connection. So that's like what differentiates it from Autodesk Inventor. If you've ever used Autodesk, Onshape is a cloud platform, meaning it can store projects on a cloud base and you can access it from any device. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, bye.